But it doesn't sound real. It still doesn't feel real to me. This whole thing does not feel real. Oh god, okay. Let me just make sure my front door is locked, because I'm getting like a bit paranoid again. It should be reported immediately.
But you cannot go to the police and nobody gonna do the report.
So I've been living Airbnb to Airbnb right now. So on November 2nd, I moved that night. And then I went over to my family because it was when they were here. We had like a pre-birthday dinner, a mini party, and then I came back at like 4:30 a.m. and just fucking conked out. And then I wake up and I'm like, I need a tangerine. And I just see the window smashed. And I was like staring at it for a minute. I was like, what the? And my first thought was, oh my god, the Airbnb owner is going to think it's me. And then I started waking up and I'm like, where the are my cats? Was running around looking for them and they were like nowhere to be found, because my first thought was that it was the stalker and he had broken in and taken my cats. But they guaranteed me no one came in, and you can see the man literally putting a bag down and crawling in to my so I'm like, why would you lie and say no one came in? I'm like, if they didn't come in, how was my laptop and my card stolen? And for some reason, they stole my mic as well, which I'm like, really? Like, really, buddy? Yeah, have a pick at your arse, whatever. I also didn't fill you guys in when I first moved there. There was someone... See, this is where it gets risky to talk about. There was someone who worked there technically for the house, and they would watch everything. He said he knew all the schedules, he'd clean the streets, he'd see everything. If you know everyone's schedule and you see everything, how did you not see two men? Called 911 and they were putting me on hold, so then I called my parents instead and asked them to come over. We go outside and we find Cornelius hiding outside. We see that the little gate to the underhouse is open, and we look in and there's just like sleeping bags and alcohol. They wouldn't let me go in alone at first because they're like, no, in case we need fingerprints, after we told them about the man and shit. And I'm like, oh my god, okay. The cops finally come. They were like, yeah, okay, we'll write a report. And I'm like, can you go under my house? Because thought Asylum might be under there, but also the fact that people were living underneath the house. And he's like, no, I can't do that. If you write a report and just leave and they come back, like, a break-in happened. He was like, I can give you my flashlight if you want to go under. Me and Johnny went under the house.
Is it in there?
Say.
Johnny, can you see any big bag left in there, no?
Oh, there's a lot of bags back here. There's more sleeping bags in the corner.
So we had taken out one of the sleeping bags. As we went further in, we found more bags and more sleeping bags. Johnny saw Asylum underneath there.
I see him.
You see him?
I see him.
You see him?
Silent, come here.
Is he in there?
He's here.
Oh, babe.
Silent, come here. He's here. He's here.
So when we went in and we pulled out the bag, yeah, it was full of drugs and shit, but there was also transactions and IDs. Yeah, there was like routers underneath too, along with the transactions, and some weird posters.
He did. He gave me his flashlight. Let me take a photo of the state of you. Look at you and Johnny.
Fucking turn the camera on me.
Yeah, look at Johnny.
I was a fucking mess. So the cops taped off the house, did a proper report. They said they'd send patrol cars, but they said because it was a busy street, it'd only be like 2 a night to just drive by and make sure none's happening. We set up a trap in case, like, deep underneath. They wanted to board it up then because of the drugs, but because we had seen Asylum, no. That's why I slept there the first night. I know people called me insane. I was worried they'd come back to board it up, so that's why I slept under the house the first night. And then they came back. They weren't scared at all because they came up to my door, knocking, the same blue gloves in that video, flashing a flashlight and recording us. I did a dumb thing. I was just manic and I was screaming. I was like, get off my property. I was going crazy. I was like, don't come back here. Well, I didn't tell him yet, but Dad was getting mad at me.
He didn't want either of us to come out. He was pushing us back in.
Poor Eva. I just remember her screaming, crying, because she was there too. Like, that was traumatic for her. And then Dad was like trying to sympathize with them.
No, he just said, all your stuff is gone. We're just renting this house. It's nothing to do with us. He was just trying to get rid of them.
I'm gonna tell them about the journalist. They don't know yet.
Which one? Oh, Jesus, that's the big part. That's the one that really frightened me now. When I said get out.
Oh, so the Airbnb owners saw me on video and messaged me, and they were like, you should stay away from this crawl space and stuff. And this is the video they saw of me just sobbing outside that hole at like 4 a.m. When I finally went in, when the sun went up, Cornelius just kept cuddling me. It was so cute. And then next day I went back into the hole. I was like, maybe if I bring or Cornelius out, Silent will smell him and come out.
Hi, baby. He's looking for clues. Are you looking for clues? Good boy. My Steve-mans are dirty because I've been under the crawl space.
So then this was when the security guard confirmed that they actually came into the house and stuff. Because Silent is a scaredy cat, as is Cornelius, where there's no way that they would have gone toward the sound of a broken window and then jumped out through the glass when they can barely climb in a safe environment. So, like I said, throughout all this, the 2 days after it happened, there would be guys just, they'd stand watching, they'd park SUVs, because I'd record them every day. They'd either be in their white truck or their SUV, or not a little black car, but a long one. And then this day, he just stayed parked, flashing his lights right outside. And I was trying to get the license plate, but the fucking trees were in the way.
I cannot fucking get the license plate.
I didn't trust talking inside. There were motion sensors and the cameras were everywhere around the house. They could hear everything. Anytime I'd hear a noise and I'd look for that camera, the camera would go down and say, connection error failed. And at this time I was so paranoid, whenever I wanted to talk about something I would like go outside and up the road. Then when that happened, this guy was staring, pretty sure he's watching us, and so the security guard just like pulls out a gun, not pulls it out, he just like kind of just like, you know, takes it out, and the moment the guy sees it he just like revs off and drives off, where I'm like, okay. And then he was just like, go back inside, go back inside. After this, they followed my cat sitter home because he was there with me for a lot of it, because, you know, it was mainly Silent we were worried about. They did the same as they did on November 4th to me. They, like, you know, recorded him, had the flashlight watching outside his house. And then this was when I was like, okay, yeah, if they're going after others too, that's when I started really panicking. Yeah, everyone was like, just get out of the fucking house. Even my friends are like, it's not safe there. People need to remember I was so manic here, and Asylum was still there because we were sure we had seen him. On November 6th, it was just weird how any time me or my cat sitter would go into the underground thing at the house, they would get alert. Not the ones that planted shit. So the owner also had a lot of other houses along that area. So the house right behind me, it was the one guy that I told you watches everything, and then it was a family of, it was like 4 adults and then 1 kid, and they were Russian. That's when I started to get suspicious, because the owner would let one of the people that she was housing talk anytime that would happen, and I'm like, why are you involving yourself? It was like exactly 5:50 on November 6th. We went back in looking for him again. I could hear like 2 people just standing right outside the house talking, and I just heard one of them say, is the cat still under there? And I was like, oh my god. So I like pull out my phone, I go around the house the back way, and they look straight at me, so I put the phone down, and then they walk off. It was like a woman and a man. They walk away, and then I'm like standing there recording, because at this point I could have just been paranoid, but they walk off and leave, and then this other guy just appears out of nowhere and looks me dead in the eyes and goes, nice architecture, and then walks away and goes on his phone and stands in the middle of the street.
Hello, man.
Hi.
I'm just saying it's a nice architecture there.
But I'm like, first of all, the house wasn't nice. It's not nice architecture. The one I showed you of the SUV with the lights on earlier, they were back there again, but then another car zoomed right by and then just does a full, an illegal circle, by the way, on the corner block. Is this the video? Pretty sure it was a scare tactic, and that's what my lawyer made a joke. I think they kept trying to do scare tactics but they didn't realize they were up against a mentally ill bitch. He was like, I think what they expected was for you to like leave and run away and then maybe they'd return it, but because you were kind of off the rock. And I made my cat sitter leave, because, you know, I felt bad that he came back even though he was already followed. At this point, I had agreed to go to my friend's house. You know, they were worried about me and they're like, you can't stay there. I was like, just give me another day. I'll stay in the daylight and it'll be fine. It'll be okay. I brought some of my stuff to their place and then I had them drop me back off. And so I arrived late when the animal rescue came on the 7th. I'm going to call him David. He was one of the Russian men that lived next door that was housed under the person I was being housed under. David was just in the backyard watching them do everything, and Johnny was with me and he's like, are you sure you didn't let your cat out? And I was just kind of like, Johnny was getting mad too. Johnny was like, she has slept under here. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't let the cat out. And he was like, maybe when you slept under though, you left the fence open and your cat got out. And I was like, no, but the animal rescue that they hired, the animal rescue, couldn't find my cat underneath, even though they went all the way in or whatever. We go inside because he's not there. I'm crying again. I tell Catman to leave. So he leaves and I ordered a DoorDash for Monster to stay awake. And at the same time it should be arriving, I get a knock on the door. This is where the story kind of gets crazy. Crazier than it was. It's a guy dressed all in black. He's like, did you have anything to do with the arson? And I'm standing here because I'm like, okay, yeah, he's one of them. And I was like, what? And I tried to close the door. He's like, sorry, I didn't expect anyone to live here. And he's like, I'm a journalist. I'm just reporting on the arson that happened. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, no, I'm reporting on the fire that happened at the bookstore. Because I was fucking terrified. I was like, what? I'm so paranoid. A part of me thought that he was still in on it and was trying to scare me, but I genuinely think he's a real journalist. I got his card off him, I got his business card, but I was still paranoid, because you can make that shit up easily. The day after they broke into my house, which I live tweeted everything, they burnt down a bookstore. They left flyers with my address everywhere outside of it with no like context except for like anti-Semitic things on it. That's why. And so the posters that I found in the drug bag with the transactions and everything, it was the same type of poster. I don't want to show the other one right now because it still has my address on it. That's why I kind of stopped tweeting. But I don't understand because it was on the same day, because they broke in at 2 a.m. November 3rd, and then later that day at 11 p.m. after I tweeted everything, they burnt down a bookstore and left my address and flyers everywhere. So this is when we started getting scared. I was too scared to say anything about what I found underneath. I thought he was doing a scare tactic, that he was pretending to be a journalist. He was seeing if I would say and leak shit. So I was like, no, there was just a break-in. You'll have to talk to the Airbnb owner.
Sorry you're doing all this.
No, it's good. It's literally just like
Hello, this is Sean from Not Yet. Make sure I have your number correct. So, there was an arson in North Hollywood with some flyers left. And it didn't say the address did it or anything, but it did list the address. So so the address on this stuff. I can send you a copy. It was like references to like a land back and some references to like a dictator in Zaire. It didn't make a whole lot of sense, to be honest with you. I just saw the address and figured I'd follow up.
Asylum hadn't been found, and I was scared that, you know, if he reported on it and included me, they would do something to him. So I asked him to come back later that night when my security was there, because also I was hesitant to trust him.
So they brought their own books and...
No, it's a bookstore, and they give out like free books.
Okay, so they took all the outside.
So they like put them all by the door and then set them on fire.
They put posters outside.
Yeah.
Similar to one that's 2 doors up. There's a free bookstore 2 doors up here. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the weird thing is, they had this address on the poster?
Yeah, the only reason I know about the flyers is because the bookstore had them like off to the side and showed them to me.
So this is, they put this address here.
Yeah.
What do you think this sign means? What does it mean?
So...
Let me see it.
Yeah, of course.
They have a fire, and right on top of the fire, they have this address.
Yeah, so I don't know. I have no idea. So I knocked on the door thinking, honestly, I didn't think anybody was going to be home. I was just like, okay, I'll finish up the piece, and sort of wandered into all this.
I'm sorry for accusing you over and over again. I was like...
Listen, if I were in your shoes, I would be terrified. I totally get it. I really do.
And I know people will continue to call me stupid for staying there. My babies are everything to me. And if I'd left and, like, I know he wasn't found at the time and something happened, I would have blamed myself. Oh God, I hate that time. Every time I go back to that street, I get, like, a really sick feeling. After, like, my mom found out, my friends found out, everyone was f***ing terrified. Everyone was like, okay, it was bad before, but now it's even worse now. At the time, everyone that I was talking to thought it was a threat against me. Not against me, against the house. Because it was a den for some people that I accidentally f***ed up. Alex and Andrea were great. They took in Cornelius, Kai, the security guards, and they made me leave the house. And I wanted to leave. But I would say I have mother's instinct. I did go back with my friends because they were so worried. And then I snuck out back to the house. And I came back because I did think they'd burned down the house. And I was like, if I'm already going manic and Silem's missing, and if there's any chance he's nearby and he, like, you know, gets burnt down, how am I going to move on from that? How am I going to move on? So there's times where, like right now, I will thank manic me. Looking back at that, I'm like, no, I wouldn't right now. That was terrifying. But I came back and this is how I got Silem. Kai took all my passwords for my PC because that's where I kept recording shit as well as my phone. But I'm telling you, that night I really thought something was gonna happen. So I went under the house again to try find Silem and get him out. But when I was under the house, I'm pretty sure it was the pipe, because it gets, like, as you go in, it gets more squished. I was like panicking and speeding instead of like usually staying down, and I like shredded. It was like here, here, and here, but only 2 of them needed stitches, luckily. And you didn't even feel it. Not until after. I was just in such a stage of like frantic. And lo and behold, they showed up. I'm scared to say it, but the Airbnb owners. And they showed up with David, the head Russian guy, the 2 women that run the Airbnb, and then an Armenian security guard that was supposed to protect me, even though I had my own one. And I started fighting them, and I was mean during it. I just said that I would burn down in this house, and I would burn this house down until my cat is taken back to me.
And he says, I see everything, I know everyone's schedule. And on the first day, I found people living under the house.
Yeah. They didn't leave. They came. It was a one-night accident. They didn't live here under the house.
He's doing his best. He's old. He didn't hear them. I mean, if you don't want him to come, he will not come. Problem.
No, but he needs to come to water the plant. Somebody needs to water the plant.
No, I don't have an issue with that. It's just in this situation because my cat sitter has been followed. The same guy that came up to my, like, the guy with gloves, they came up the next day and recorded my dad and me in the face, asking where it was. One of them...
About that. Yeah, I mean, it's low-level street guys.
Low-level street guys?
Yeah.
The amount of transactions that were found is insane.
I mean, he came without... See, those are amateurs. He came without covering his face.
Yeah, but for some people, that weed could literally make their whole life.
Yeah, we want them to get arrested. We don't want to scare them. We want them to get arrested.
Because they'll come back.
The back is going. The police
As they have,
and
following my cancer.
They didn't come back after that night. They got the message that the...
They did. Alright, they did come back.
They watched when we go under the house, but they didn't see them come back and stalk us every single day. This was my bargaining arc. Because, okay, chat, once again, I was suspicious of them the whole time, and that's why I was like, I was trying to talk to them and be like, oh yeah, no, the guys are scary.
I'm just saying, if my cat is found, I'm out here and you guys can fucking deal with this. And all the evidence we have, you guys can take into 2. I will be in here fighting until my cat is found.
We really hope we're gonna find the cat.
Every time doors is open,
Yeah, I hope so
hear,
too.
right? You hear the signal inside of the house. If somebody will
Yeah.
come in, you hear boom, boom.
Okay.
So he's gonna stay here, but it's a bathroom in the back. If If he needs to use the bathroom, he have like from in the storage, not inside of your house.
Before I seem like an asshole here, they wanted, he was an Armenian man that I've never met before when I already had my own security guard, and for days they wanted him to protect the house and watch the house.
I think this whole thing is insane. But I'm telling you, I have my own security, I've told you, and I understand this is Anna, your house, I understand that. I'm just very skeptical about everything, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. If my cat's found, I'm out here. That's all anyone needs to worry about. I won't say anything as long as Sam was found. I just don't want to be gaslit into it.
Okay.
Alright. Okay.
Most important thing now is your cat.
Yeah.
Okay?
Alright.
Right, have a good night.
You too.
We have our phones. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
And then 3 minutes later, they knock on the door. Your cat, your cat! We found him, we found him! He's on the neighbor's door.
There's a free bookstore 2 doors up here.
And that's where Asylum was found. By the way, that's the house he came out of. Just want to put that on my I was right and everyone was wrong because they called me crazy because I was so paranoid. But I was right. It could be a big coincidence. But me and Johnny walked up and down these streets. We went everywhere. We're 3 minutes after that saying, I'm not leaving the house unless, like, my cat is found. It can be burnt down. 3 minutes after, they find him. Because if he was under that house, you saw how dirty I was. I'm just grateful for whoever took him. They kept him fed. Because I know my baby, and I know when his coat was recently brushed. If he was outside like that, no. I think that was the last thing that happened. Why did they do the bookstore fire? That's what we still don't know. That's why I'm saying it hasn't ended, because it was never figured out. Once I got my cat, I ran. I put them with my friends safely. I stayed with a different friend while trying to find a new place, and that's why yesterday I got here.